Welcome, everyone. We're now beginning to start the webinar. So thank you all so much for joining us today from around the country. My name is Rebecca Langton. I'm the manager at the Refugee Council of Australia. I'm going to start by making an acknowledgement of country. I'd like to start by paying my respects to the traditional owners of the lands we're meeting on, that we now call home, and to elders past and present. As we work towards a more inclusive future and with fair and humane policies for those seeking sanctuary, we remain committed to learning and standing alongside First Nations people and for achieving a reconciled Australia. Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning for those in Western Australia. It's a pleasure to have you all here today from around the country. We have councils joining us from every state and territory. We also have some other interested individuals and organisations joining us to learn more about Refugee Week and refugee welcome zones and how they can get involved. So thank you all for being here today. We have some fantastic speakers from local councils. We also have one of the Refugee Council's refugee ambassador speakers joining us from South Australia to talk about what Refugee Week means to him. We also have my colleague joining us from Brisbane, who is the coordinator of Refugee Week this year, and I'll be handing over to her shortly. So I just wanted to welcome you all and just give a little bit of a brief overview of the Refugee Welcome Zone initiative and how that ties in with Refugee Week. So I'll just bear with me while I share my screen. Sorry, this isn't the wrong one. Okay, so as most of you joining today are from Refugee Welcome Zone councils or are obviously perhaps living in a Refugee Welcome Zone local government area, I thought I'd just start by just recapping on what we mean when we say a Refugee Welcome Zone. So a Refugee Welcome Zone is a local government area which has made a commitment at some point in time to welcome refugees into their community, to uphold the human rights of refugees, to demonstrate compassion for refugees, and to enhance cultural and religious diversity in their community. So the Refugee Welcome Zone initiative began in 2022 as part of Refugee Week celebrations. So at the moment, we have 177 local councils nationally who are refugee welcome zones, and we continue to have new councils join. So most recently, Alice Springs Town Council became a refugee welcome zone. So we're very pleased to welcome them. And we have refugee welcome zones in all states and territories currently. So being a refugee welcome zone, there are many different ways local councils can show support for refugees and people seeking asylum. And that can be through, obviously, their policies, their procedures, their programs, grants they give, events they organise. And one of the ways Refugee Welcome Zones can show support is by organising an event for Refugee Week and also by amplifying the message of Refugee Week. So, Refugee Welcome Zones, we would encourage you, if you work for a local council, to get involved with Refugee Week celebrations. And this year in particular, the theme for Refugee Week is we feel particularly resonates with the work of local councils because it's focusing on the role of community. So I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Sophia Ducker-Jones, who is based in Brisbane. And Sophia is our coordinator for Refugee Week this year. And she is going to talk now about more about the theme and the message for Refugee Week this year and how you can get involved. So I'll stop sharing and hand over to you, Sophia.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're really happy that you were able to take the time out to take part in this webinar. So, Becky, just let me know when the slide is ready, and we'll go from there. Just apologies if I'm interrupted halfway through. As Beck mentioned, I'm in Brisbane, so I'm just paying attention to the elements outside. So Refugee Week this year is going to be from June 15th to June 21st, 2025. In that week is June 20, which is World Refugee Day. So that's how we sort of centre when our dates are going to be. Next slide, please, Rebecca. This year's theme is, we have an overarching 3-year theme with Refugee Week, which is Finding Freedom. And this year's sub-theme is all about diversity in community. Finding freedom really sort of represents the challenging path that many refugees take to get to freedom. And we're focusing on community because we know that community plays such a vital role in all of our lives for any sort of freedom, whether it be based on your race, your ethnicity, your religion, gender, any disability, sexuality, or age. We want to be as incorporative as possible. When we were talking about what our theme should be, what our sub-theme should be, and when we were talking about community, we realized that there's a lot of diversity within community. So it could be your school, it could be your work, it could be your family, your religion, your sport. And so we really want to sort of highlight that in this year's Refugee Week, which brings me to our photo shoot. So next slide, Beck, please. So one of the major parts of our Refugee Week organising campaign is our photo shoot. Photos that we use in this photo shoot are used for all of our publicity. So that's our posters, our EDM, social media, any type of media that we use to publicise Refugee Week. As mentioned on our theme, we want to be as inclusive as possible. So that meant going to places that were outside our metropolitan areas. This year we focused on Dandenong in Victoria. Simply because when we were researching what places that we wanted to go to, this one ticked a lot of the boxes because there was a huge focus on the refugee community, multicultural community. And so that's what we wanted to sort of illustrate in our photo shoot for this year. So we had people from Afghanistan, from Myanmar, from Ukraine, members of the Tamil community, all take place in this photo shoot, which happened at Dandenong Park, simply because Dandenong Park is a big part of the community sphere. Next slide, please, Rebecca. So one of the ways that the Refugee Council can help and support anyone who is celebrating Refugee Week this year is by using our vast range of resources that we have available. That includes our general resource kits and our school resource kits. Within those, you'll find a lot of facts about refugees in Australia, a lot of facts about Refugee Week itself. We have our posters, postcards, and EDMs, which I mentioned are big parts of our publicity. You can order our poster. You can do an order form for our poster on our website, so we can send you, if you haven't received the link already, we can send you the place of where you can go and order. If you are in South Australia, the Australian Migrant Resource Centre, they have their own separate poster competition, so you can contact them their style of poster as well. We also have our events website as well available as well. I really recommend you, once you have your event arranged and sorted, to put it onto our events website as soon as possible. Again, if you are in South Australia, you can use the Australian Migrant Resource Centre website as well as using our website. That means that when anyone logs on to see what's going on in the community, they'll be able to see your event. So it's a really great way to publicize your event, and really easy to do it as well. As I mentioned before, it'd be great to have you guys as welcome zones involved in being our poster pickup points. We do have a sign up place where you can order the posters. It's a really great way to be connected to your community and what they want to do as well. We are also in the process of putting together a Spotify playlist, which once we have finalized, we'll be able to share around with all of you. That will include music from refugee artists in Australia and around the world. I'd just also like to remind you that if you have a question, you can put it in the Q&A box below. We will see it, and we will, if we can't answer it during the session, we will be doing a Q&A session at the end as well.
Thanks so much, Sophia. We're now going to move to our first speaker, who is one of the Refugee Council's refugee ambassadors. So we have several speakers with lived experience who are refugee ambassadors. And our next speaker is Irfan Abidi, who is joining us from Adelaide in South Australia. And Irfan fled Afghanistan in 2021. And since then, he has arrived in Australia and has won many awards for his human rights work. So we'd like to welcome Irfan, and I will hand over to you now, Irfan, to talk about what Refugee Week means to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. And hi, everyone from Ghanaland. We are based in South Australia, and I acknowledge that this is Ghana land, and I have the privilege of speaking today to this webinar from this land. What Refugee Weeks mean for me. Refugee Week is an essential time to reflect on the resilience, challenges, and contribution of refugees, while also it raises awareness of the refugees' experience and also advocating for their rights. So this is the only week that people focus on it, and refugees have a time to talk about their experience, their resilience, and their journey. Having a lived and reality of being displaced by force, I deeply understand the significance of this week. It provides an opportunity to share the ideas, to share stories, highlight both the loss of a refugee and their achievement. And also, it's also an opportunity for the refugees to engage in the community in some meaningful discussion. For refugees, their journey is often marked with losses of their home, their community, sometimes even their family members. However, it's also a journey of hope, courage, and resilience. They leave the country, maybe not by their choice or unexpectedly by force. They still aim for a better life, for a safer life, and for hope. Refugee Weeks, as we have the experience, and it has been proven that plays a crucial role for shedding the lights of these stories, celebrating their strength and those who have faced hard times. And it reminds us of how important is the compassion and the solidarity with them to give them a sense of belonging to their new home. As today we are hoping that more councils become to join us and become the welcoming city and welcoming zone in their area, they play a valuable and important and critical role in supporting refugees, helping them to build their new lives and providing them necessary resources to start a new life here in Australia. Without their support, it could be very hard for them. So the most important thing is that by having them in refugee weeks and giving them some opportunities in refugee weeks and understanding their needs, it could empower them, it could foster some connection with the society, and these local entities or local council can create sense of belonging for the refugees. So once they have the sense of belonging in the local area that they live, they can tap into their skills and knowledge and experience. And soon it will lead positive outcomes for both individuals, for the refugees, for the community, and for the broader community in the area that they live. There are many and countless examples of refugees who got many successful achievements after they received the right support. They have grown into their new environment. They have brought their talents, innovation, and diverse perspective to the communities. They shaped positive progress in various aspects, whether it's in education, healthcare, business, community works, and they created many other opportunities for others around them. When refugees are welcomed by the new communities, based on what I experienced, when I remember the first day when I came to Australia, I didn't know anyone here, and I was not expecting anything, and I was just in an uncertain condition. The first thing that how made me to feel Australia my second home, and now I call it home, and how I connected and got that sense of feeling was when I came out from the airport, people were carrying some signs and saying welcome home. So that welcome still is in my heart, and that gives me the first day a sense of belonging to this land, that I need to contribute and need to be actively engaged to the society. So when from my experience, if someone's feel welcome in your community and someone understand them by just showing them that connection, they are not just rebuilding their own lives. They are contributing to the cultural, society, economic fabric of the country. So let's focus on Refugee Weeks. It reminds us that when we support those who have been displaced, we not only provide them with hope and opportunities, but also we enrich them to contribute to the community that we offer them. By welcoming them, actually we are empowering them to contribute to the society and explore more opportunities for others that they are in a difficult condition and situation. And also Refugee Week is the only time that we can raise awareness and advocate for refugees that they are still struggling for their settlement or for their future or for their destiny anywhere in the world. We can continue to ensure that these individuals and families are not only welcomed, but also empowered. So once we empower them, they can contribute, create, and make a lasting impact on the society. So from my experience, Refugee Week is the only time that refugee can speak about what they need, and they can contribute as much as they can in the society. And it's really important that people listen to their story, not like the story that how traumatic was their story. It could inspire others to listen to them and watch how they build their new life and how they face the challenges coming to the new country and how they use their skill and talent and how they are actively contributing to the society that they live. If you have any questions, Q&A is open, and also I will be here in the panel.
Thank you so much, Irfan. That was a fantastic presentation. If you have any questions for Irfan, please do put them in the Q&A, and we'll put them to Irfan at the end. Thank you so much. It was really interesting to hear you emphasize the importance of belonging, and you know, how local councils in celebrating Refugee Week are actually empowering people to make more of a contribution, as well as increasing that sense of belonging. So thank you. It was really really great to have you talk to us today. So now we're going to move on to our next speaker, who is Celia Chang from from Hume City Council in Melbourne. Celia is a multicultural community development officer at Hume Council, which is in the northern part of Melbourne. And Celia is going to talk to us today about how she's organised Refugee Week events in her area, focusing on centering people of lived experience. Over to you, Celia.
Thank you, Rebecca. Before I start today's presentation, I would also like to acknowledge that we're meeting on traditional lands today, and in Hume, that's the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung people, in particular the Gundung William Ballard clan, and I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. I won't go too much into the demographics, but just to give you some context. So the city of Hume is about 15 kilometers from Melbourne city centre, and we have a very diverse community with people coming from over 170 countries and speaking more than 155 languages. We are actually home to the second largest population of humanitarian entrants across all of Australia, and 1 in 3 of them who have entered Australia under the humanitarian program and living in the city of Hume as well. So considering our demographics and Council's commitment to the refugee welcome zone, in which we are a signatory, for a number of years, we have been holding an annual event to celebrate refugees and to raise awareness of the issues in the community. So this is a key event happening in Hume, in addition to a number of different activities that might be held at our libraries and community centres as well. But I'm just going to focus on the one that we deliver as the annual event, which is usually held as a celebration or expo. And this usually might involve information stores by service providers to talk about their programs and services. And we might have guest speakers from refugee backgrounds, and we also have some cultural performances from local community as well. So usually Council might lead the organizations of the events or in collaboration with local service providers. And there's usually little or minimal input from community due to different reasons. For the 2022 event, through the service providers that we're working with to organize the event, we actually tried inviting community members with lived experience to the planning group. Due to reasons such as timing and perhaps limited support for community members to continue to participate, we only had one person attend the meeting and only for one planning session. So while the Refugee Week event still went ahead, I guess it was really timely to reflect on the question, who are we actually running the Refugee Week event for, and who are we running it with? I think this is a especially important question for us to ask ourselves, especially if, say, councils who have been part of the refugee welcome zone for a number of years and has been putting on the events where it can become a business as usual activity. And for myself, it's equally important for me to ask the question, as I myself am not from a refugee background, but I am playing a role in organizing refugee events. So really taking a step back to actually unpack who can we actually involve to be part of the Refugee Week celebration. So in 2023, we actually piloted just a slightly different way of working, still working in collaboration with local service providers, but recentering it to the community that we are working with. So the refugee event was to be delivered by community members with lived experience and supported by council and service providers. So usually with celebration event projects, the event itself is the outcome. But now we're actually exploring how to recenter our efforts to work with people with lived experience on how they would like to see refugee week events being delivered. So this is a 6 to 8 month process which we undertook, which actually prioritized the need of community members. And one of the key successes on reflection was actually finding the right partnerships with the local service providers who actually has buy-in and are on board with a different way of working together to support our community. And just in acknowledgement, I've been grateful to work with some of our local neighborhood houses like Banksia Gardens Community Services, Spectrum, Brotherhood of St. Lawrence, and also Arabic Welfare, who has worked with me to make this happen. So we actually had a process where we had expression of interest to recruit community members to be part of the working group. So we were focusing on people who live, work, or study in the city of Hume. But really, while we send out expression of interest or like a flyer or poster to let the community know this is happening, what really was successful about the recruitment process was the one-on-one conversations to gain interest and to explain to people what Refugee Week is and why we want them to be involved, and also taking a chance to actually understanding the motivations in participating, what are the skill sets, and how we can help to develop them further through this work as well. So our meeting started in March over the next few months. So it took about 3 to 4 months, over 8 to 9 meetings. And a slight adjustment that we made was to make sure that we do actually hold our meetings after hours from 4:30 onwards. So this will actually remove the barrier to participation for community due to study and work and other household commitments as well. What was really important that we ensured that there was follow-up by staff if they need additional support. So for example, if a community member might not have turned up for a meeting, we'll make sure to call just to make sure they're all right, whether they felt comfortable, if there's anything that we could support them with. If there's anything they don't understand that we could actually also help them with as well. If they need support to make one of the ideas or suggestions come alive, we will actually do a lot of preparation work with them as well, just to make sure that they are prioritize their needs and the skills developments are prioritized rather than the event outcome itself. We also make sure that we foster ownership of the event and the project through joint decision-making by the group. So the options and ideas that we bring to the table are always presented as a whole. So it doesn't matter whether you're a staff member working in the working group or whether you are a community member being part of the working group as well. We share our ideas and talk through them and make a joint decision on what to include. So over the last 2 years in which we tried this different model of working, we had many great ideas that were actually supported to become a reality. And we also draw on the strengths to make it happen instead of doing it all for them. So for example, like one of the committee members suggested having a cultural fashion show, and there was support to source the mannequins. However, the fashion show itself was run by the working group member, where they did all the planning from the NC script to engaging local community to bring their different cultural costumes to the fashion show, and also like planning of the music and how the show is run as well. One of the big things that the working group members wanted to was to make sure that the audience are not just passively engaging with Refugee Week activities, as they notice when sometimes they've been to other events. So they will come up with ideas of interactive cultural quiz or getting people to get up and about, searching for messages of support, or even an interactive drumming activity as well. So all that came from them. We also had an art competition running in the background with a local human rights organization, but they played a role in judging the competition. They also put up their hands to share stories of the journey, and we played quite a big role behind the scene in prepping them beforehand and making sure they're supported to share the stories, rather than just contract a guest speaker to come in for the day and do, for example, a 15-minute presentation. So there are many benefits from this way of working, but just on reflection, it was really tapping into the strength to achieve the event with very limited resources that make it really make the event successful, and also fostering a sense of ownership for the working group as well. So working group members have good connections to the grassroots, including their family, friends, and community, whom we tapped into to invite them to be either performers or run an activity during the event or be a DJ. And these are contexts on which we might otherwise never reach. The bilingual skills is such a great asset to our community as well, where they often contribute through being a community checker for our translated flyers, and also supporting attendees at events who speak their language, so to help them navigate the event as well. Sorry, this is my alarm telling me it's 10 minutes. So, and in return, they also gain skills and knowledge through learning how to plan an event and how to manage a budget for the event. They also get a certificate of participation and a reference letter as well, so they can use it for future projects. And they also get a small token of appreciation, a gift voucher as reimbursement. So together, we continue to have an engagement and dialogue while we're working together on the Refugee Week project. However, we also learn from mistakes and celebrate the wins together as well. And I'm just going to take one quick minute because I just want to quickly show you this video and I'll wrap it up. So this is just where we started off from, where we brainstorm activities, what kind of activities and programs they would like to see at the Refugee Week event. And that was the outcome from the first year that we piloted that I'd like to share with you. That's it. That's all I have, and thank you for listening.
Great. Thank you so much, Celia. That was excellent, and great to see the video as well at the end, seeing it all in action, and so many different activities and events that Hume has put on. But I think the key message of your presentation is obviously how to involve in a meaningful way refugees themselves in a Refugee Week event, and obviously your local government area has many people from refugee backgrounds living in that area, but of course some of the councils joining today have might not be in the same situation, which is why one of our next speaker is actually from a local council that does not have many people, or at least many recently arrived people from refugee backgrounds. Eric works at North Sydney Council and organised a very successful Refugee Week event last year in partnership with several other councils and local organisations. So please, if you have any questions for Celia or Irfan or any of our speakers, please, I would encourage you to put them in the Q&A section that you'll see at the bottom of your screen, and we would love to answer those questions and put them to the panelists. So we're now going to move to Eric Poulos, who works at North Sydney Council. And as I was saying, Eric put on a fantastic event last year, which I know because I was there myself. We just wanted Eric to be part of this conversation to talk about what is possible in a local government area that may not have an obvious refugee population, but was still an event that was very well supported and successful in the community. So over to you, Eric. You need to unmute yourself, Eric.
There we go. Yeah, thank you very much, Rebecca. It's a pleasure to be and a privilege to be presenting today and to share some of the insights that we do have from North Sydney Council and our wider networks that are there. Can everyone see my screen? Yep. Okay, that's fantastic. The first point is that we wanted to start with the context of North Sydney. Yeah. Okay, the context at North Sydney, you can still see that screen, okay? Yep. Is that we have 72,000 residents and the population is 40% born overseas and 26% of the population comes from comes from countries where English is not the first language. So we estimate there's less than 1% humanitarian entrance, and that hasn't deterred us from doing refugee events for quite some years now. We always bring, I suppose, that context into what's our purpose for doing Refugee Week. And I think it was really well summed up in the introduction. We have distilled it down really to the 3 points of raising awareness and compassion for refugees and the international situation that is happening to refugees around the world. And that actually brings into consideration what Australia can do and the benefits that Australia can bring into playing some sort of humanitarian role. We also, and this I think was beautifully summed up by Irfan, who wanted to encapsulate in his presentation the idea that Refugee Week events raise awareness and highlight the benefits to the Australian community that refugees can bring and how they have contributed to the community. There's people in this particular slide, Akunda, Rosemary and George, for example, who were refugees themselves and have contributed. Taking that, we try now then to amplify the message. So we appeal to the community's willingness for compassion and understanding, to be educated and informed, really, and to hear from people with lived experience. That idea of hearing from people with lived experience can have a real profound effect on people. And some of our events have had presenters where people have been left speechless by the sorts of things that refugees have gone through and the sorts of experiences that they can convey in their own way, sharing their lives and being compassionate. We also find that people want to hear about what is good policy, and it's not always what it's made out to be in the media. So hearing it firsthand is a great thing to do. We don't stop there. We want to amplify it even further. We always link with migrant organisations and refugee organisations. So we've linked, as Rebecca has said, with the Refugee Council, the Asylum Seekers Centre. We had Francis Rush, as you saw in one of the previous slides, from the Asylum Seekers Centre, our local Migrant Resource Centre and other resource centres, and social services like STARTS, who deals with trauma survivors and has recently come into the area because we have experienced, for example, refugees from Iran and Ukraine coming into the area as well. We amplified it even further by linking with the adjoining councils, so we don't leave it just to the one council area, and the Lower North Shore network. Now, if you look at North Sydney, we're in the middle of 4 councils in the Lower North Shore. So we've got Willoughby, Lane Cove and Mosman, as well as North Sydney. And that network, the Lower North Shore Multicultural Network, was established back in 1980s. And the idea is that we come together for common purpose around people from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds, around multiculturalism, around refugee issues. So we have a commonality there. So what works? What works for us is to fit in with the theme and also to be topical. In 2024, we knew a big issue that was happening was in Iran and Afghanistan, and particularly what was happening to women. So that's how we became topical in organising the 2024 Refugee Week event that Rebecca refers to. And you can see that Rebecca's there at that particular event in this particular slide. We have Tahira there as well, who is from Afghanistan and spoke about having to flee Afghanistan in a Medicine Sans Frontier van, dressed as a nurse, and it was a life and death situation. We also have Shakufe there from Iran, who has left Iran, but is working with the diaspora, you could say, the people outside of Iran who have their hearts back in Iran and trying to do things in Iran, for example. So it was very topical. We also realised that we need to have a working group and a budget. There we find that, you know, council grants and club grants are great. And that working group is drawn on from the network. And what we try and do is have information stalls and resources so that people can actually talk with people with not only the lived experience, but that can assist people as well. So, and we also try and reinforce the multicultural message. And I think those two things go hand in hand. We obviously know, and we saw from, again, Fanula saying that the common theme is if we can move from our first situation of being daunted to being welcome, then it's a great thing. And migrants share that same experience with refugees. So amplifying that is something that we find is really worthwhile to do. The program, it's important to have a profound mix of lived experience and also celebration, so performance and poetry. Some of the biggest performers have been poets who can sum up things in a few words. I remember at one of our seminars how Hannah Abdili was saying that in one of her poems about labels. We use labels as a tool of disagreement and the start of conflict, which leads to racism. It was invented to divide humans from other humans, to mistreat dignity, to create endless war. Being African, Asian, Middle East or white is not a crime. It's just a name that we were labelled with. So the other two things in terms of how we want to hold the events and what we know that works is to charge a nominal fee, and with that fee make sure that we can donate to the Asylum Seekers Centre or the Refugee Council. We also find that by charging a small fee we get very few dropouts at our events, but we also put on a good spread and a good show, which is well worth coming along to. And that spread is often provided by either refugee catering services like the House of Welcome Catering or other social enterprises that are involved in refugee issues. One word of caution is around social media. It can be very vitriolic in terms of trying to promote events, and we use the social media in a cautious way. We never allow people to post straight away. It's got to be moderated and the like. Sometimes the sorts of stuff that comes up on social media when you're promoting an event like Refugee Week, it just reinforces that parts of society have become quite uncivil. So I hope that I've been able to provide some background there, and thank you very much for listening to me, and I hope you've taken something out of it. And I'll leave you with a picture from, it was a daughter of one of the poets who performed, and she was very patient, and she left us a drawing which said, "I love you, everyone." And that's the message of, I think, that we wanted to get across, the compassion in our Refugee Week events. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you. And as Eric mentioned, I was at the event and it was a fantastic sold out event. So so well done for putting on such a great event. And obviously, yeah, social media is something to watch. But I think you raised lots of other really interesting thoughts and you know, about that meaning of Refugee Week, and also practical suggestions for making it a success. So thank you. And now we're going to move to Dalal. So Dalal is our final speaker, and Dalal Slimani works for Whittlesea Council, which is also in Victoria, in Melbourne. And Dalal is also one of the Refugee Council refugee ambassadors and has been for many years, and we've worked with Dalal, you know, for many years, and she's a fantastic advocate, and she also currently works for Whittlesea Council and has had many years of experience in organising Refugee Week activities. So I will hand over to you now, Dalal. And please do, again, encourage everyone to put any questions you may have in the question and answer box, and we'll put them to panelists at the close of the webinar. So I'll just share, Dalal, your presentation, and then over to you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Rebecca, for the lovely introduction and following up on the other colleagues who presented. So I'm delighted to be part of this event. And before I start, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri and Tingarung people being the landowners in which I am dining in today from, and pay my respect to the elders, past, present, and emerging, to any Aboriginal person with us here today. Next slide, please, Rebecca, if you don't mind. So topics that I will be covering in today's presentation, actually, why it's important to celebrate Refugee Week as local government organizations, and also what council can do to make their LGAs as a refugee welcome zone, and examples and some success stories. And as Rebecca mentioned earlier, I am the Cultural Diversity Officer here at City Whittlesea, and I'm delighted to have this role because I'm on the ground and working with refugees all the time, refugees, migrants, and asylum seekers, of course. But not only that, also I do a lot of volunteer work as well outside my working hours. My passion towards welcoming refugees and supporting and advocating on their behalf. It's in my blood because I am from a refugee background and I've been through that journey, and I know what is it like to be a refugee and coming to a new country and starting life from scratch. It's not an easy thing to do. And I think it's really important for each local government organizations, as other speakers have mentioned, it's to recognize the contribution that our refugee communities are making to this country and also in their local community, and sharing that lived experience and resilience. And lots of them left their home countries just all of a sudden without any notice, fleeing persecution and wars. And I think they are hungry for that welcome zone, and we need to give them that opportunity to welcome them into our communities. How can we do that? Actually, here at City of Whittlesea, even prior to working in the organization and currently working in my current role for over 2.5 years, we always did big events here, and it's always attended by 300, 350, sometimes 400 people. And it shows the smile on people's faces when they are attending these events, and it makes them feel welcome. And also they know we are acknowledging them in our community, being part of this community. And I just wanted to also share our refugee community or people from an English speaking background who are living within our LGA. So our community members speak 147 languages. That's not a small number, as you can see, and almost half of our residents speak a language other than English. So we are delighted to have them being part of our community, and they have chosen Whittlesea to be their home as well. So we are here to support them. So in terms of celebrating and throwing events, actually, so sorry, can you go back to the previous slide, Rebecca? I haven't finished the previous one. The previous one, please. The third one. Yes, thank you. No, fourth. Yes, thanks. So events held in the LGA, actually, it can vary. So sometimes there is no difference between one or another, and also whatever you do within your community, it's always great. So as I mentioned, we do one large event, but we don't only stop there because we always do other events. We go to our community and work with them and do it in their precincts, because working alongside my wonderful colleagues who are community development officers, in their precincts, they always throw like small events as well. And I'm going to mention a few, like how we do it in that regard. So it can be like, for example, taking a group of people to a police station on a refugee week. And introducing them to police. And as you are aware, like lots of people from refugee background, they don't have that interaction with police in their home countries, and then there is that fear in terms of approaching. So we are just trying to eliminate the barriers in that regard. And then again, like being one of the Refugee Week ambassadors, I've been in many panels, being invited like by other councils throughout that week, and then they celebrated that way. And then there are other speakers as well that we shared our journeys, like how they were. So some of them maybe have come 20 years back, some of them who came 10 years back, and others are very newly arrival. And sharing all these experiences, it's always different, and each person like experience different things from the other one. And then also we create videos. For example, we create video of a refugee person and sharing their success story as well. And this can be done like in partnership with Melbourne Polytechnic, with their students, and then we show it to the other students. And also we show it at our big event because it's very well attended. And we would like to raise the profile of refugees. Refugees are not here like taking people's jobs, or they are not here like to take over anything, but they are part of our community, and they are contributing like really positively to this community and making huge difference to our community. Lots of them are highly educated, and all that we need to do just give them opportunities to be like part of the community. In the main event, actually, we often invite guest speakers to come and acknowledge that, like in a formal way, but also we do it like in an informal way. For example, providing food, because food is really important for any event when we are inviting people to come. And we have to be mindful, like when we are celebrating as well, in terms of culture, religion, and celebrations, and also, so we have to make sure there are like halal options, non-halal options, vegetarian and vegan, and so on. So all these things are really crucial to be mindful of. And then we have like dancing, singing, DJ, and cultural clothing. And as Celia mentioned, also we do sometimes like fashion parade, asking everyone to dress up in their cultural attaris, and they just get interviewed and asking them like, okay, which culture do you represent, where do you come from, and so on. So people are aware of that as well. And so in some events, actually, we do like refugee recognition in terms of awarding those who have contributed very positively to the community, because we would like other refugee community members to admire them as well, because throughout that way, they know like everything is possible. And we know people, when they come through this journey and get to the point they are right now, they started life from scratch, and achieving that, it's really important to get recognized. And sometimes like during the event as well, we do storytelling. So we one of my colleagues interviewed like 5 refugee community members, and she has written their stories, and then we took like picture of them with their stories, and we did it like in a larger scale, and we displayed them at our refugee week event, which is like massive room that was seen by everyone, and after that it was taken and displayed at the library. Sometimes we partner with other organizations to deliver these events as well. And mainly like we partner with Melbourne Polytechnic, because we know like all their students are from non-English speaking background, and majority of them are refugees who doesn't speak English. So we make that effort in terms of making our event accessible and also approachable, and then targeting like the right people who can attend. And sometimes I even got invited by radios and been interviewed, so I can raise the profile of refugees and then mentioning my council and what we do there as well. So next slide, please, Rebecca. Yeah, as you can see, so this is like 1 year event, and as you can see, this was last year event, and what we did actually in each precinct, we had our flyer there. Sorry, it was 2023. So we have our flyer, and it tells people like what's happening at each event and where do they need to go and how to register. And there were lots of things that were happening. For example, Zumba that we did with one of our leisure centers. So there is no organization that is not able to contribute to the success of the Refugee Week event. So working together hand in hand, everything is possible. So when it comes to small things as well, maybe to organizations, they might say, oh, that's a small event, but for the refugee communities, it's not a small event. Even if it's 20 people attended that Refugee Week event, wherever it is, and we have made the effort and time to go to them and celebrate it, and we recognize their contribution, it means a lot to them. And these are pictures of our last year event. Actually, we had our main venue that was not available last year, 2024, and it was held at our Great Hall. And as you can see, the room was packed, and people were, some of them, unfortunately, were standing even for 3.5 hours, but they still enjoyed the event, and they were highly like regarding what we have done for them that day, and they really appreciate it. So my say and encouragement to other local government organizations is always partner with other organizations. For example, Melbourne Polytechnic that I mentioned to you, but any education institution that is providing ESL classes, because that's where refugee communities go. And also settlement service providers, it's really important to get them involved because they are on the ground and they can bring, and they always have like refugee social support group, and they can promote this to them. And again, word of mouth is really important, but working with other organizations, they bring their clients and we bring our community members together, and we all do it at the same time. So in terms of local government role, I know we are running out of time, so we should be the leading organization in that, because I think every local government organization, they have the budget to deliver that. Working in partnership with other organizations, that makes it easier because everyone can contribute, if it's not financially, but then also with other things they can do in terms of organizing and all that. So it's not like delivering, then maybe offer space to community groups and organizations so they can deliver their events from your venues, or maybe even help them with promoting. Like myself and my colleagues, we always promote other organizations flyers through our social medias and also through our email distribution list. And maybe even bring them like, or offer them grants. They can celebrate it themselves if we are unable to do it. And then prior to the event, of course, we can have meet your email banner in the email signature, so we are showing that support when we are sending email to other organizations. So next slide, I think that was the last one anyway.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jalal.
Yeah, I had to rush it.
That's okay. Yes, I know it always takes. We always tend to go a little bit over time, but that's okay. Thank you so much. And I really liked it when you said no organisation is not able to contribute something to the success of a Refugee Week event. And I thought that was a really good thought to hold. So let's just move to the questions. So we've received a question for you, Celia, at Hume, I think. Just a moment. I'll just stop sharing my screen. Yeah, so there's a question. I'm not sure if it's been answered. Okay, you have a question. Yes, about your budget. So thanks for answering that. Okay, Eric, there's a question for you.
Yeah, and that was about the networks that I'd referred to, and it is a formal network it's the Lower North Shore Multicultural Network, which is a voluntary group really that comes together. It's made up of all levels of government, local, state and federal, who want to come along. So we get people from Services Australia, Services New South Wales, for example, the Health Department, those sorts of organisations, police. We also get a number of community services, and we meet 4 times a year with formal meetings, but then with our working parties. So for example, the Refugee Week would be a working party. It's a project that we work on, and so a small working group from that network, which has about 25 people that come to meetings, but I have an email list of over 100 people that get information about what's going on, so we can draw on the specific people. So for example, for the last working party, we had someone from STARTS, the Refugee Trauma and Torture Survivors, for example, could contribute. We also had the local community centre and the like involved. So it depends on the project. So we can actually tap people on the shoulder who've got the skills in the network.
Thanks so much, Eric. I think we're going to have to wrap up now, but thank you everyone for taking the time to join us today. Thank you to all our amazing speakers. It was great to hear from you. You all had something really important to say on this topic. So we're really grateful for you sharing your experience and your wisdom with us here today. We're going to send a follow-up email to everyone that registered with the recording and our contact details. So if anyone has any questions about Refugee Week, you'll be able to contact us here at the Refugee Council, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have. And if anyone wants to get in touch with any of the speakers, you can also ask us to I guess connect you if that's something that you're interested in as well. So thank you everyone. It's been a great afternoon, a great session, and we will forward the recording as soon as we're able to. So thank you all so much, and we will be in touch soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.